Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out People of Reddit. Story 1. I had to do something discreet to get back at my kid's stepmother for being an BTCH. My kid's dad was verbally and emotionally abusive from before the wedding until a while after our second child turned 18, which by that time was half my life. Unfortunately, when the kids were 9 and 6, he married a woman who in some ways became even more abusive to the kids and me than he was being. I didn't want to do anything that would cause an outright war because I always did everything I could to keep things civil for the sake of the children, and TBH I was kind of afraid of her, as were my ex-in-laws, my kids, and according to them also their dad to some extent. She was extremely heavy, and they're religious in a sect that requires women to dress very modestly, so over a period of about 6 months I ordered dozens of catalogs in her name from places that only sold petite and / or really sexy clothing. Edited. Thankfully this all happened years ago, so the other parents are long out of my life, and after enough therapy I stopped feeling the need to mess with either of them. As for why didn't I do something more to protect my children, my daughter's school called CPS once because of an altercation between her dad and her when he was picking her up from school one day. He had screamed at her and thrown her backpack at her, driving off leaving her standing in the parking lot in her school uniform, a skirt, blouse, and knee socks, while it was snowing. Even though he came right back, the school wouldn't allow him to take her until the situation had been sorted, but CPS said they couldn't do anything about it unless there was proof he had directly hit her. CPS has a much higher threshold for triggering an investigation than most people think, and emotional and verbal abuse are murkier than physical abuse and harder to prove because there's no physical evidence. At one point I did start the process of getting the kids a guardian ad litem to go to court for a change in legal custody, but they backed out because they were too afraid that the other parents would be even worse if they went to court and said they wanted to be with me full-time. And they were right, it would have been worse for all of us, but I was willing to be falsely blamed for manipulating them if it meant they'd be safer. The other parents never believed that anything they were doing was a problem for the kids, and if the kids ever tried to give them feedback they were told they were only saying that because I was brainwashing them and deliberately turning them against the other parents. Ironically, even if I had wanted to turn the kids against them, which I did not want to do, all I had to do was keep being myself and they naturally preferred me BC not crazy or abusive. 4 years afterwards my daughter tried to work out a mutually respectful relationship with them, and finally went no contact when she realized she was never going to succeed. Edited. But I'm the first person she calls when she has news about something. They only found out that she and her boyfriend had gotten engaged BC her brother mentioned it, which she assumed he would and she didn't care, and they will get no info or see any pics relating to the wedding or anything else about her life. Story 2. Show up late without calling. Enjoy Hell's playlist while you work. This may not seem too petty for some. However, for a people-pleasing, introverted, pushover who is terrified of conflict, this is the best I could do. A little background about me: I, 30F, used to work at a daycare for 5 years before moving on to being a receptionist for an optometrist. This particular office is one of the ones you can find in Walmart, Target, Costco, etc. That particular bit of information will be important later, I promise. I am also not an early morning person. I hate waking up before 8 or 9 a.m. for work. I always lay in bed for as long as possible before getting up and going on about my day. On with the story. Our retinal imaging machine broke down a week or so ago. It's a machine that takes a scan of the back of your eye. The repair guy was supposed to show up at 8 a.m. this morning. We open at 10. My boss has young children that she has to get ready for school at that time. So I got the honor of showing up 2 hours early. My alarm goes off at 7 a.m. and I accidentally turn it off instead of hitting snooze. Luckily, I live 10 minutes away from the office and I woke up before 7:30. I get up, rub the sleep from my eyes, and quickly put on my scrubs. I leave with just enough time to grab breakfast beforehand. I get to the office right around 8 a.m. and begin my morning routine. 8:15 rolls around and the repair guy still hasn't shown up. I'm messaging my boss with all the updates. As the minutes continue to tick by, my ire only continues to grow. 8:30 rolls around, all my tasks are done, and there's still no sign of the repair guy. I begin messaging my boss again, threatening to sacrifice the stupid repair people to the heathen gods should they not show up today. My boss assures me that they confirmed we were on their schedule. She has received no phone call or email or any form of communication about whether or not they are on their way or running late or already there. I said that if they don't show up by 8:45, I was going to blast the most annoying music I could find on Spotify while they worked. I begin adding music to my new revenge playlist as I wait. 8:45 and still nothing. Their fate has been sealed. I rub my hands together with a crazed gleam in my eye. Finally, close to 9 a.m., they show up. Apparently they were waiting at the wrong spot since 8 a.m. Why didn't they call to confirm? That is one of the greatest mysteries of the universe. I open the door and beckon them inside, much like a spider would a fly. I was waiting inside the store since 8 a.m. I tried this door and the one next to you at 8:15. The only door to the office is located outside the store. Which means they pulled on the door once and left without ever knocking. I am not able to see the door from my spot at the desk. So by the time I got up to check the door, they were already gone. Also, the doctor's name and office name are on the door. But he was waiting inside for you. You might say. Ah, so he was waiting by the glasses shop. Yes, that is very common. That's why they have a sign on a table near the entrance inside and on the outside door next to ours telling people where the office is located. Now I know you're not supposed to mess with the IT guy. That's the best way to screw up your entire company. Usually, I'm very respectful to the IT people on the phone. I joke with them, appreciate their work, and I keep on their good side. But this guy, this company, these absolute buffoons. We, and by we, I mean the doctor, mostly, have had issues with them previously. Issues that are not mine to disclose. They showed up an hour late, no call, no knocking, didn't even bother to read any of the signs. I have been at this office since 8 in the morning. I am beyond tired. I am beyond done with any and all nonsense. So what was my revenge, you ask? I made a playlist of kids bop, children's songs, and various other annoying as fuck songs. That has been playing for an hour while they're working. How can you stand it? Remember when I said I worked at a daycare for 5 years? These songs were my jam the entire time I was working there. I can listen to these songs with little to no damage to my sanity. Baby Shark? I sing that randomly throughout the day anyway. Wheels on the bus? That slaps real hard, too. Baby Bumblebee? Oh hell yeah! Kids Bop? Unpopular opinion is that they don't suck as much as people say they do. But it's not just children's songs I have playing. Oh no. I also have gems such as They're Taking the Hobbits to Isengard and Why Is the Rum Gone and, my personal favorite, the Lil Jon remix of Cooking by the Book. You know, the one that goes from being a simple, upbeat kids song to now break it down bitch. Now let me see you back it up. Within a few lines. The doctor for today has shown up and has been giving me concerned glances. This is explains so much. She said. She's not wrong. Even the repair guy stopped what he was doing to check on us because he thought he heard crying. Nah. It was just one of the repeat after me songs that repeats the same thing over and over and over and over and over until you lose all sense of yourself and feel your sanity dripping away bit by bit until nothing is left but an empty, drooling husk of your former self. This playlist has been playing for the past hour at least as a form of punishment for not knocking or calling or anything. Do I have any regrets? Not a single. Bloody one. I can keep jamming without taking any psychic damage. I hope he has good rolls against sanity checks, because he has to clear a 17 to pass. D&D nerds, were you it? This concludes my minor tale of petty revenge. Maybe it's not perfect, maybe it's not all that petty. But it makes me feel better, okay? Oh, and if r// sees this, I love your work. You're amazing. Tell your daughter and your puppy I said hi. Update, it's been almost 5 hours and I'm still going strong. I've even started singing along to some of them at the top of my lungs. And you had best believe I am also dancing in my chair. Story 3. Think you can cut in front of me in line? Think again. I was at an amusement park the other day with my friend and we were waiting in line for about 1.5 hours for the best ride in the park. Near the end of the line some snot-nosed kid and his friend cut right in front of us. My friend could tell I was pissed and she asked them what they were doing. All they did was shrug and laugh. When we finally got to the ride they were sitting in the seat right in front of us. I'm not good with coasters so my stomach was upset and I could feel I was about to throw up. But instead of getting up off the ride I said hey bitch boy and the kid turned around and I projectile vomited in his face. I acted like it was an accident but I was smiling at him the whole time and he couldn't stop crying and throwing up himself. It wasn't even a little bit embarrassing, the kid should have been with his parents. Story 4. Claim dad's airplane overhead bin for yourself. Good luck with that. This is actually my dad's story, and it happened in the 80s. Dad used to travel frequently for work. On one trip, he boarded his flight, placed his briefcase in the overhead compartment, and took his seat while the rest of the passengers boarded and got settled. While he was sitting there, a guy, entitled Asshole, aka EA, came back to Dad's row, pulled Dad's briefcase out of the overhead bin, and asked Dad if it was his. Dad said yes and accepted it when the guy handed it to him, thinking that EA was going to make some room for his own carry-on and then put Dad's briefcase back. Instead, the EA put his carry-on in the overhead, leaving no room for anything else, and then walked back to his seat near the front of the plane and sat down. Rather than causing a scene, Dad removed the guy's carry-on from the overhead, put his own briefcase back, and hit the flight attendant call button. When the attendant came by to check on him, he asked to gate check his carry-on. Gate-checked items are put down in the cargo hold with the rest of the checked baggage and need to be retrieved at baggage claim. He put the gate-check ticket in the seat pocket in front of him and enjoyed his flight. Dad had already deplaned by the time EA came back to get his carry-on and realized it was missing. I'm sure he found it eventually. I doubt TSA would look kindly on this kind of petty revenge these days, but it was a different time. Edit. To people saying that he should have put his briefcase under the seat in front of him, this was 40 years ago. People were more likely to check bags back then, and it wasn't typical for people to have a large carry-on and a personal item that allowed them to avoid checking bags. People weren't expected to put their belongings on the floor. The etiquette was different. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.